everybody. Welcome back to She Aced That. It's your host, Alexandra, and today we have a special guest. Thank you, Liz, for joining She Aced That today.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm honored that you asked me to do this. I'm so excited.
Liz is definitely the best first guest I could probably have. We go way back to MSU Club Volleyball, and then we've also have a lot of memories since, and I feel so grateful to have her today. So she's going to bring a lot of insight, especially from the libero and DS standpoint. But we're also going to get into her story, her journey, which will help a lot of you so much. We're also going to get into some tea that we've experienced together related to coach drama, our friends matching with our coaches on Tinder. I do want to preface a little bit. Liz was a grade younger than me, and she joined MSU Club Volleyball a year after me. We were on the same team, which was super cool. We have a lot of great memories, and we have even more memories after college as well. I wanted to ask you, Liz, on all of the memories that we have together, especially from the volleyball days. What are the things that stand out to you the most?
So many things toward the start of our friendship and also my experience with the club. There are a few that stand out. And the first is all the returning players had a welcome party for the new players, which was so fun and such a great way to welcome us in. You guys iced us. And then the other thing I'm thinking of is at our first tournament, which was at University of Michigan. I think we had some downtime in between games and we weren't working or reffing any games. And we just decided to have a photo shoot. And I think that just describes they're iconic.
I do want to introduce you. You're one of my best friends. We've been through so much. You're a TikTok superstar. Follow Liz Bizco, just so everybody knows. And no, seriously, truly the most down-to-earth, amazing person. She's an athlete. She's smart. And I'm really excited to pick your brain on the volleyball world in general, your experience especially, and then obviously get into our juicier topics as well. So I do want to start the origin of your story, where you're from, and how you got into volleyball in general.
I am from Kalamazoo, Michigan. I had an older sister. She played soccer. My parents, bless their souls, I feel I changed my mind a million times on the activity I wanted to do. I was doing a lot of music stuff. I was taking cello lessons. I was taking guitar lessons. I was in a little band. And then at the same time, I wanted to do soccer. I wanted to do tennis. I wanted to do eventually volleyball. And they encouraged us to do all those things. So I would say what drew me to volleyball, I think it was just my friends at the time were playing and it seemed cool. It seemed fun. I think my first experience was in the 5th grade playing in gym class. And I think it was with a beach ball or something. But I just remember being intrigued by it, having fun. And then my friends at the time started going to camps, taking little lessons that I would tag along for. So yeah, that's how it came into my life.
What grade do you think you were in when you first started playing more of a competitive aspect of volleyball in general?
7th grade in my school district was when you tried out for the school team. And so I would say 7th grade probably. Up until then, I was going to camps and going to little lessons and things like that. So I would say 7th grade, we're competing, we're trying out and getting better.
I feel like it's horrifying to go on your first competitive tryout because you're not only at that age going through a lot of changes like physically, mentally, friendship-wise in middle school, but it's also now I'm actually being judged if I deserve to be on this team or not. And I feel like that was super impactful for me.
Oh, yeah. I was a tiny little human in middle school, too, the size of a stick and really short. So I didn't have the strength to even overhand serve and get the ball over the net. Like,
seriously,
physicality-wise, I wasn't the most athletic. I didn't have the greatest foundation.
At that age, like we were both like baby giraffes.
Yeah.
That's like the best. Like, it's like the only way I can describe it is like when I saw other girls, they seemed like they were more in tune with their bodies or I don't know, just more coordinated. And as we were getting more reps or as we were trying to understand how volleyball even worked, I feel like it was really hard to have that like mental to physical coordination or connection, if that makes sense.
Oh, for sure. You're so confused about a million things and add on a sport into that.
So you made the 7th grade team, right?
Yes, we had an A and B team. I did make the A in 7th grade, but we were not good. So it's not a flex. But
it is a flex though, because I made the C team. We had an A, B, and C team and an A team would be a huge flex. So whatever you want to say, but I will say that definitely impacted my confidence for sure.
Okay, but look where you ended up. Everyone starts somewhere. It doesn't matter what team you make in middle school also, because you're all getting playing time and at that age too, you're just getting the foundations of the sport.
I don't think my team could get the ball to the setter or target and then I think it was just getting the ball over, and then every serve was missed under the net because barely anybody could overhand serve.
It's getting the motions down, 3 touches, pass, set, hit. I think it's just familiarity, and no matter what team you make, I think it's helpful at that age to get exposure to that.
I also feel like at that age, it's hard to understand the volleyball IQ side of it. So then when did you start playing club volleyball?
Yeah, I started in middle school, I think 7th grade, 7th or 8th grade. I tried out for this cute club called Sting. I remember it so fondly. And yeah, I decided to start pursuing it more seriously. Isn't the right word because there never was a point where I was trying to get toward college scholarship or anything like that. But I don't know, my friends were doing it and I wanted to explore it outside of school. So yeah, I started playing club in middle school.
I feel like it makes a huge difference too, especially going into high school, having that club experience. I wish I had that. Honestly, going into it, the friends that I had that played club definitely made higher teams going into high school and just assisted them with having more reps and skills to be ready for that level.
It's definitely a privilege, though. Not everyone has the means or ability to do that. So if you have the ability to do it then and want to do it, then I would definitely suggest doing it. But yeah, like it's really okay to start freshman year as well.
I do think that is a hard aspect because, and I feel like that's for any sport. I talked to Kyle about this too, about hockey, for example, and just how much money goes into it, but then also making sure that you have all the gear. There's so much, and there's so many people who don't have that ability, and it does impact your skill set to a point. But I just feel like that is a huge thing that is not really talked about how expensive they are. And then thinking of club volleyball on top of school volleyball, you're playing for pay to play in high school or middle school in general and already paying for that on top of outside of the season.
We don't have licenses at that age, right? So like someone has to be picking us up, dropping us off, and some parents are working more than one job. It just emphasizes if you're not able to play club, don't take that as a sign that you're going to be behind or worse than anyone else.
Going into high school, tell us about your high school journey with volleyball.
Yeah, in general, my school district didn't have a ton of funds dedicated toward the athletic department. And so we weren't ever really known for being a great team. And we're in a super competitive area. So, and again, the financial aspect of it too. Some girls had been playing clubs since middle school. Some girls didn't touch a volleyball till freshman year of high school. So you have a ton of different dynamics going into it. And I think because I had the privilege of getting the club exposure and touches and reps, I made JV my freshman year, and I was with a lot of my friends who had also been playing club for a year or two at that point too. I didn't really have the like physicality or athleticism to be varsity yet. Like I'm self-aware enough to know that. And so yeah, JV freshman year was a really big accomplishment for me at that age.
I feel like it's huge to make JV as a freshman and then see how that changes the trajectory of your even like high school experience and who's on your team. And
Yeah, I was pretty much the last one out of my friends to make varsity at the time. My friends at the time slowly started playing for that higher advance. It was called Dead Frog, if any of the watchers know what Dead Frog is. I never tried. I did end up playing for them, which we'll get into, but I didn't play at a higher level at the same time as the other girls that I was friends with.
yeah,
I don't think there was any animosity from girls my age or younger about me making varsity at the time I did, because if anything, I was one of the last ones to make it.
so tell me about when you realized that you had the confidence to switch clubs maybe and go to a higher team in general and how that impacted just the mindset of having additional confidence based on making JV as a freshman, how that changed your decision making for club, which I feel is a huge thing. If we have the confidence inside, how much we can do with it versus settling in what we're comfortable with.
Yeah, my sophomore year high school team, I also made JV and was captain of the team, was libero, getting so much playing time and getting recognition from my teammates and even other coaches of other teams, just acknowledging my skill, which was the first time I had received that feedback. So I think at the time I gained a lot of confidence through that. And I mentioned previously, but I did a lot of musical type stuff too. So I was actually a musical theater kid at this point, and I was doing both. And after sophomore season of high school, it was like, do I try out for the musical? Do I go play club? And I eventually decided to play club. And I don't really remember what motivated me to try out for the higher club, but I think maybe it was just my time and I
Mhm.
felt like I had gained the confidence during my school season. So yeah, I decided to try out for the club and made it and was libero for that team. And we were like really good. We were undefeated literally the whole season. It was insane. Like one of the best teams I've ever played on for sure, especially at that age. We were what, like 14, 15. My sophomore year of school, my sophomore club, all of that led into me trying out, making varsity and advancing my level of play.
I feel like we definitely were at similar tournaments
Oh,
with
yeah.
you playing at Dead Frog. It just is
Who did you play
totally.
for again?
So I played for Legacy my freshman year, so that would have been like you
Oh,
were
yeah, we
still in 8th
played
grade.
Legacy, yeah.
And then I played at Supernova, so that was like a
Oh,
national team that
yeah.
I played on. And then after me and my friends made a state team at Oakland Elite, and it
Okay.
was so cool because it was the same group of girls for the most part from high school, and it was only like 6 or 7 of us, and it was just the coolest thing to be able to have that team chemistry and dynamic, which makes a huge difference in
Oh,
going
yeah.
undefeated, for example. And we were able to win this whole there was 4 weekends of this tournament, but we ended up winning in total the whatever qualifier thing that was, which was really cool. To be able to make your own club team was super unique. And I don't feel like many people get that experience, but I highly recommend it because you're already working with those girls and just have that team dynamic from high school and whatnot. But
Team dynamic and chemistry can actually change everything. It definitely impacts the entire team's confidence on and off the court, so
I fully agree. My freshman year, we went undefeated as well, just because we had this good team chemistry dynamic. And obviously, as freshmen, you're limited on the skill set. I was an all around setter on my freshman team, and I could barely get the sets out too close to the outside. There's no way an outside could actually hit my sets at
wait,
that
you were
time.
a setter your freshman year?
Yeah.
Oh my god, I did not know that.
I will say, so anybody who's listening, if you have no clue what position you're going to play in a sport, try out anyway, because that was me. I never hit a volleyball before, mind you. I never actually knew how to hit coming into freshman year. I chose setting because I was still taller and somewhat coordinated, but I wasn't a great setter either, in my opinion.
I bet you're doubling
And
now.
oh, for sure. And what's funny is as a sophomore, I was the only person in my grade to make varsity, and they wanted to train me as a setter. And that's where I made yeah, I
Oh,
know.
period, okay.
She's what? You're a setter because she knows me as something completely different. But
I know you was a million things except setter, but I can see
I no, I know. It was crazy. It was so random. But I will say, but even then, with me not being a baller setter, but still being able to go undefeated, I feel like a lot of teams don't have that because
yeah.
it takes a lot to actually say I went undefeated the whole season. And I feel like your team chemistry and your mentality is like the only thing that can actually make an undefeated team happen. Like it really isn't about skill set. So then there is something that I want to make fun of you about from a defense standpoint.
Okay.
And I feel like I know exactly why, besides maybe you were talking about you were a baby giraffe in middle school
Yeah.
and didn't feel super strong in some ways, but then also I know your love for passing and getting on the floor and getting down and dirty and whatnot, which I'll let you talk about in a second. But I feel like there's something that drew you to being a libero. Can you give me some insight on what that is, if you know what I'm referring to?
Are you referring to my height?
No. All right, listeners, this girl loves the different color of the libero
Oh my
jersey.
god.
Yes, she loves to stand out. Yes, she loves to make sure no balls touch the ground. We're totally aware of her passion, but I will tell you that girl loves to stand out in the other color jersey, and I don't fault her for that.
Yeah, no, I honestly loved the attention of being the other color, and especially when my friends would come to games or boys I had crushes on, they're like,
Mhm,
Explain the other color jersey. Why are you wearing every color?" I was like, "I'm so happy you asked. It's because I'm
mhm.
the best defender on the team, and they need me to have unlimited subs." I would go on about that. It was so fun. But yeah, no, that was a small part of it. The big part was what you already said. Like, I absolutely love defense. Not the biggest fan of serve receive, and I'll admit that. But no, defense was where I thrived. I would dig for everything. I love actually my favorite plays were when someone, maybe a block would get a touch or I don't know, someone had a bad pass and it goes shooting off somewhere. My favorite plays are me sprinting to get those and trying to get it back on the court. Those are my favorite. And yeah, I just love the chaos of defense.
You're like saving the day, I feel.
Yeah,
That
save
is
your
really how it
complex.
is.
Yeah.
And I will say I am partially jealous as a hitter of the different colored jersey because as a middle, we're the ones switching out with the libero. So technically we're not a sub either. So it's like, why don't we get another colored jersey? I
Yeah.
will never be able to be a libero or DS, so I will let you guys have that. But I will say I feel like all other positions are definitely jealous. Then going into varsity. So tell me about you making the varsity team. What position were you in? And anything that really impacted you during those times of your volleyball career?
Yeah, obviously was varsity junior and senior year of high school, was captain senior year, and I was libero primarily both of those years. But I just remember, and I wouldn't say it's super negative, but it did impact me, was just the level of competition for specific positions when you're on the same team. I feel like that was the first time I experienced that on varsity because one of my other close friends, we both played the same position. My coaches were in a game, mid game, they're like, go change the bathroom, swap jerseys. I vividly remember that happening one time. And yeah, and I would be swapping jerseys with my friend, and it was an awkward thing, but it was just on the court stuff. Like, it didn't really impact us off the court per se. But yeah, I would say that was something weird going into varsity that I wasn't familiar with yet.
I feel like when coaches do that to liberos, especially, it's like they're almost trying to prove a point or something of, well, if you're making more mistakes, then I'm going to yank you and I'm going to put somebody else in your place. And I
Yeah.
feel like that's really counterintuitive, honestly, because then you're just focusing on the mistake you made versus what I like to preach as a coach is like short term memory in volleyball and really in any sport is like everything. Like you really need to
Yeah.
forget the mistakes and you need to focus on getting the next kill or the next pass. And the next serve. And after you shank a ball, you need to remind yourself that you have the confidence within you to get a perfect pass to the setter, to get a perfect kill from a hitter.
Yeah.
I feel like as a passer, you are the foundation of being able to set anything up from the offense perspective. And when coaches are pinning back row players against each other, I just feel like it really is room for even more error. If you do make a mistake, all that could be, and I'm obviously speaking for you to a point, but all that could be on your mind is then when is this jersey going to be taken from me? Like, how many
Yeah.
mistakes am I allowed to make? And it's really not a great feeling.
No, that's a huge part. You hear this all the time, but it's so true. Volleyball is a mental game, maybe more so than a physical game, because you said each
Yeah.
point is different, each point is new. And yeah, a big thing for me as a defender was serve receive. Let's say I don't get a 3 perfect pass to my setter. Those are things I would internalize. Even if I got the pass and I didn't shank it, I'm a perfectionist. I wanted to get perfect passes to my setter every time. And if I missed a hit and someone got a kill on me, that would literally eat me alive. So I think being able to, you said, the short term memory, I think that's a really good approach as a coach, but also just as a player to keep in mind, because each point is like truly new. And if you mess up 1 point, it's just 1 out of 25. You have multiple sets. You can just shake it off.
I feel like it's easier said than done, but that's really what
Yeah,
we have
of
to
course.
remind ourselves and remind our teammates. And I just feel like we've probably both had teammates in different teams and even our own teams that we were on at the same time together. We
Yeah.
know the girls who probably couldn't shake it off as easily and were super hard on themselves. And then we could
Yeah.
also rely on the girls who maybe could have more fun on the bench after they got off the court and did make a mistake. And it's refreshing to almost have that fun regardless of how down we were or what was happening on the court. Let's get into a little bit about college and club volleyball at MSU. And I feel like for us, that was huge in
Yeah.
college because it totally changed what we were going to do after our classes were done, or we
Yeah.
weren't going out on the weeknights or on the weekends. We were traveling to other schools. And so it was such a different college experience than what I feel like most people maybe have, just because even though we weren't on the actual D1 varsity team, I feel like we were almost on a JV level version of it. And we
Yeah.
still had a lot of priorities. We still had to put this first, or else then we wouldn't be able to be a part of the team. There was a lot of sacrifice. And then on top of it, trying out is super competitive at, especially at any D1 school for pretty much any club sports, I'm assuming in general. There's so many people who forego playing at a college level, whether it's D2, D3, because they want to go to this maybe D1 school.
Yeah.
And it's just a lot to navigate, I feel, but also really rewarding at the same time. So I do want to talk about how you joined the club team at MSU and what led you there, because I know it wasn't in your plan.
It's so funny because I actually wasn't planning on playing volleyball at all post high school. Not that I didn't have love for the sport, but I just always wanted to go to Michigan State, and I wasn't at the level of varsity per se. I wanted to pick where I went to school and get a degree from that. I pursued school versus playing. And Michigan State is so funny because they have such random classes. They have a scuba diving class. I had a class all about being a student leader. Like, some of these classes were fake. And
Yeah.
this is important
The
because,
turf classes that everybody takes as
oh,
like an
I took that.
elective.
I took
Wait,
that. Volleyball was an option. And I was like, I know a little something about that. I decided to sign up and get college credit for a sport I already knew how to play. Like, hell yes, I'm going to do that. It was so fun. And I remember I was in that class and there was a guy in the class who's so good. Because in my hometown, there weren't men's teams. I wasn't familiar with men's players at all besides Matt Anderson. So he was really good. And you don't dress up in volleyball attire for this class. You're wearing shorts and tennis shoes and playing for fun. But he was actually the one who encouraged me to try out for the club team because he played for the men's team. He was, I think you're good enough. You should just try out and see what happens. And yeah, so he really is the one who encouraged me to try out.
thank gosh he did.
For real. Shout out John. That's his
Shout out
name.
John.
Shout out John.
Thanks for getting Lizzie K on the team.
I tried out sophomore year and I was scared to tryouts. It was the most intimidating tryouts I've ever been through, but it was worth it.
It's actually funny you said that though, because once you brought up volleyball class, I have full amnesia that I took the volleyball elective too. Yeah, seriously, freshman year I took a volleyball class and I did not remember that until now for some reason, which is horrifying. But it was, I don't know if you had an older teacher or
No,
not
my
for
teacher
volleyball.
was a young girly.
That's actually hilarious.
It was a
Gosh,
vibe. The
okay.
class was so fun.
I know, it actually was so fun. I miss seeing the random people that were in those types of classes,
Me
like that we'll
too.
never probably see again or remember again. But
Yeah.
I love that. And then obviously we were talking about tryouts were intimidating going in at a college level. I felt the same way about going to Michigan State. I feel like our senior year of high school, we were very conscious of letting go of the sport. It was like the
Yeah.
last time you're going to play, like your last senior game. You're not going to probably spend money to play club your senior year if you're not going into college playing it. It was a weird roller coaster for us, probably being able to allow ourselves to let go of the sport while also eventually having the opportunity to try out again and maybe be let down again in that dynamic, which I feel like is
Yeah.
also tough to put yourself out there knowing there's a small chance I'll make it just because of the player pool that's trying out, but that it's still something that we love and wanted to put ourselves out there for. I will say one thing about my tryout. So I tried out and then the president of the club sent out an email that was with the numbers on our shirts.
I remember the email. Yeah.
And there was a number that was listed twice. And it was one number off of my number. I emailed her back and I said, is there any chance that this is a typo and that's my number to show up at practice on Monday? And she goes, oh, unfortunately, no, you didn't make the team. And I just accepted it because I was rushing for a sorority anyway, which is a whole other thing. But I guess I didn't really fully expect to make it because there were some other medals, but whatever. After the first day of practice, she emailed me that night and was like, we invited the wrong girl to practice.
Wait, I remember you telling me this, and that's insane.
Yeah. And they were like, please tell me that you're still willing to come to practice tomorrow. And I got that email and I was like, oh my gosh. I was like, yes, of course I'll come to practice. But then I also obviously felt bad for the other girl. But I didn't even go to the first practice my first year of being on the club team because there was a typo in the email of who was supposed to be there. And they noticed I wasn't there and they were confused and they noticed this other girl was there. And it was such a weird thing, but obviously blessing in disguise for me. You made the team and you're planning on joining the team. You weren't planning on making it. So how did your parents react? How did you react to your friends accepting this new college way of life?
My parents were so happy. They're the most supportive parents ever, and they love coming to games. Like, they came to every single tournament. At least one of them was there if the other wasn't able to come. They love volleyball and they love watching, and they were so happy. But I think that overall, the relationships in my life were very happy for me and excited for me. So that was like my driving force and the main thing I kept in mind going to practice every day. This is a great time to just talk about playing time. Let's be honest, I did not have a lot of playing time that first year of club. Some of it had to do with the coach And some of it was just, I don't know, just sometimes you don't get playing time. That's fine. It's part of the sport. But
I do want to pause you there for a second because it is very eye-opening, dependent on your coach, the year you're playing, what position you're playing. Those things we think are defining us in a way, but in reality, it shows that 1 year of maybe you not playing as much, and the next year you were starting libero on a higher team. And so I just want to preface everybody listening, just because one coach isn't playing you a lot, it actually doesn't mean that's the right decision and that's what you deserve. And that the next year, it doesn't mean that you're going to be in that same spot. So just don't let it define you, because the next year could be completely different, and it should be completely different.
no, I think that's really good advice because it's so true. You asked about bad practice where I felt invisible. Like I felt invisible every practice because this coach, I don't want to harp on him too much, but his experience as our coach, he came from a background of playing as a men's player. And men's volleyball and women's volleyball is very different. And they don't really need DSs. They have a libero, but everyone usually plays all around and they dig everything with their hands. And it's just like a different, totally different strategy. But I also was the only DS on the team, but wasn't getting played for that position either. And it was just a choice that one coach made that made me feel not valued. But maybe if it was a different coach, it would have been a different situation. Who knows?
I remember your situation with it vividly. I think I just cared about you and how you were being impacted. That was my 3rd year on the team. And a similar situation happened to me though during tryouts. I got sick like every tryout
Me
for some
too.
reason.
Like with the
Yeah, I was
flu.
the year before. I was super sick too, but I wasn't as stressed because all the girls knew me, the coaches knew me. Like it wasn't a big deal. But this coach comes in and they're obviously newer. And he asked me to try out for a completely different position than middle. I remember that being super impactful and changing my confidence, because I'm like, all right, now I'm being switched roles to
Yeah.
the right side. And I was like, I don't feel confident in that. And I must not be good enough in the middle position. Do I have a choice? And then there was one practice that I was given the opportunity to play middle. And all of a sudden, that practice I played probably the best middle in my whole life. And he was like, oh, wow, like you really know. Yeah. And then I played middle the rest of the season after that practice. But I made
Yeah.
the team actually with him thinking of me in a different role. And so that was my 3rd year in the club. And that was where he wanted me and saw me. And I was like, all right, there goes my playing time, because setters and everything else. And I don't know. I just can relate to you in that realm to a point, until I was given the opportunity to prove myself in the middle position.
Oh, I remember a very specific situation where I proved myself as well. And it was the
Mm,
due tournament where we got second. That was, I think, the best we ranked
I
all
remember that.
year. And I don't remember if it was you or one of the other leaders on the team, because you were one of the leaders. You were encouraging him to let me play back row for one of our teammates. And it's not that she was bad, but it's just, hey, maybe we could give homegirl some playing time. And I played so good that game. And I remember after the game, you were good. He
Yeah.
said something like that. I was like, "Yeah, come on." And then other than that, the only time he would play me was when our libero, Ella, love her to death, when she would be exhausted,
Mhm.
or I don't know. That's the only time he put me in, when I'm super cold and it's the 3rd set and I'm dude.
I hope everybody listening to this, what they see doesn't define you, because they're not seeing everything. I'm sorry, but even having a coach role before, and you don't see everything. You can't know every girl's strengths and weaknesses all the time. And that's just a fact. And if you're a coach that thinks you know every single thing about all of your players, you don't. And that's just the truth to it.
When I played on green, we won a lot.
Okay, so talk about making green after not playing on white.
Yeah, because I don't know if we've made it clear, but like, there's green and there's white, and it's an A and B, but both teams are so incredibly talented because of the level of competition at the school. So yes, it's A and B, but I just wanted to preface that.
Yeah, and I mean, there's been times where we've either scrimmaged or played in tournaments against each other, and both teams have beat both teams,
The
if that
other,
makes sense.
yeah.
Like, definitely a difference in skill set in making teams, but at the same time, I
Yeah.
would say it's the top, 24 players in all of Michigan State that
Yeah. I would say a big thing that I know went into me making green in the first place was, you've made a post about this, but communication as a defender. So going into tryouts, I was super, super confident. I'm a returning player. I'm pretty sure I'm making the team. At that point, I assumed it was white, but not that because you make the team, you shouldn't work hard to earn your spot. That's not what I'm saying, but I just knew I was good enough to make the team. So I was going into it way more relaxed, way more myself, way less in my head. And that had a really big impact on my skill during the tryouts. I remember so vividly those tryouts because of how good I felt after and knew that I played really well. I remember very specifically, there was a tryout drill that we were doing where there were both sides, you were serving, and what you had to do was pass a serve receive, and then there were setters, and then I think you would either go up and catch it. I don't know. Either way, you were doing serve receive. And every single pass I did in that serve receive drill was a perfect 3. I remember feeling so good after that drill. The green coach watched me and I saw him writing down stuff when I was playing in that drill.
I will say though, when you see them writing something down after you do something good, it's always a good
Oh,
like
yeah. He was,
check.
oh, yeah. I watched him. I'd be peeping. Yeah. So I was not by any means expecting to make green, especially because of the season I had before that where I barely played. But yeah, you mentioned the email before it gets sent out. It's so nerve-wracking. Seeing that I made green was so cool. Like I was
That is so cool.
so proud of myself too, just off again of a season where I felt invisible and didn't feel seen. Like we had a whole new set of coaches and yeah, I felt very seen and validated by that.
I think it says a lot that you can go from a lower team and not playing to a higher team and starting. And I think
Yeah.
that's really like when girls are given an opportunity to be on a lower team and you row the bench on a lower team. And some girls would automatically say no to a lower team, especially in high school. And I
Yeah.
think it just says a lot that I know a lot of stories of girls making a lower team, whether they play or not, and then the next year making higher team and playing all the time. And I just would so much rather see girls take a lower spot and push through the crap, even if it's a bad coach, to still have the teammate aspect and to have that potential for the following year versus quitting the sport fully. Because I feel like you and me have been lucky where, yes, we've had those bad years where we've rode the bench or our passion has dwindled, but then we've had those good years that our teammates and good coaches changed our whole perspective of the sport. And if it wasn't for those years and us giving ourselves those chances, then we wouldn't even have the amazing memories that we do. And
Yeah, I completely agree.
now let's get into some of the spicy stuff.
Okay.
Is there anything that you want to bring up from any years, whether it was from college, high school, that was, oh my gosh, I can't believe we're even dealing with this?
I don't know if I can say this, but I do remember the coach. We did see him on Tinder during national.
I have a video on my phone of one of our teammates matching with our coach.
But our teammate,
at
she was not
nationals.
in the wrong. She swiped on him to see if he swiped on her. And he did because we had a feeling that he was obsessed with her. And he was. Oh my God. Yeah. That was wild.
I think it's just interesting to have a coach that's similar age as you are as a player. And it's a really cool sometimes, but also hard dynamic. Because even when I coached the white team before COVID ended everything early,
Yeah.
I feel it was hard to gain the trust, but also gain the respect from somebody that's a similar age as you, even if you're a year or two older, experience wise.
I was so ready to respect him. And the age thing
Yeah,
honestly didn't affect me until you start hearing whisperings of stuff and the Tinder thing. I know it happens everywhere.
I agree. And don't ever feel like, our listeners, don't ever feel like you can't speak up when things make you uncomfortable, especially as females, but it goes for both genders. I just feel we really default to either putting up with it or being quiet about things. But if you're ever in an uncomfortable situation with a coach, no matter how old you are, no matter how old the coach is, no matter what the team dynamic is, please always speak up or find an ally of some sort, because I feel sometimes even as us, we were adults in college, and I feel like there were things that probably weren't spoken up about that really should have been because nobody wanted to cross the line. I do want to touch on another subject, and that's court anxiety in general. For me, my worst court anxiety situation was my first varsity game as a sophomore. I was thrown into random positions, and I just remember feeling like deer in headlights. I didn't even know what I was supposed to do or where I was supposed to be. And I just felt like I couldn't breathe. And the one thing I wanted to do was run off the court. So I know you have a situation that you want to talk about regarding court anxiety and maybe walk us through what that looked like.
Yeah, not to unpack my trauma too much, but I feel it is a good note to know that my anxiety in my life was the worst my junior year of college, which was the same year I played on green. Volleyball had nothing to do with my anxiety. It was just other stuff going on. But there was a situation where we were at, I think it was Ohio State, and it was one of the games where I wasn't the DS for the game. And if you have anxiety, anxiety shows up very different for everyone. And for me, I get jittery and then I get really nauseous. And so I started feeling that. My heart started racing a little faster. And one of my teammates, I told her what was going on, and she's also deal with this. Just go step out, get some air if you need. So I left the building. I wasn't playing around that game, so it was fine. I told my coach, hey, I'm going to step out to the bathroom or something like that. And I just took a beat. And it was a struggle the entire season during practice, during games, on top of the competition that you're dealing with and the high pressure to succeed and perform. I just had stuff with relationships, stuff with friends, just things in my life that were really causing me anxiety that affected me on the court for sure. Unstable relationships in my life, toxic relationships in my life that were just causing a lot of stress and anxiety that I didn't even really know what anxiety was at the time. Things were taking a toll on my mental health and were showing up physically because of how toxic they were.
I relate to you in the anxiety realm. There's things that I feel, especially when you're, whether it's high school, college, a sport, when you're stuck around the same people or same environments and same situations, you notice that you said you might not have realized what it was at the time, or even if you did, it's how do you set a boundary or how do you get out of those situations or being around those people when you're surrounded by it in different ways? If they're in your friend group, again, relationship, if they're on your team, if they're in your classes, it's so hard to take a step back and think about how to give yourself space between you and the person that's maybe not as healthy for you and being in your life. Growing up, I've definitely had those friendships cause me a lot of anxiety. And until they weren't in my direct circle or around me all the time, I couldn't feel a breath of fresh air. And then it shows up physically, like you were saying. So I think a lot of people can probably resonate with that even in their current situations. And do you have any tips on how you were able to give yourself space from that and maybe start to heal the trauma that was triggering the anxiety?
It's distance. For me, it was easy. I moved across the country. I don't live in Michigan anymore. I'm in Philly. And I think even if you're living in the same city, you're on the same team. Those are situations where only interact when you have to. And it's not petty. It's actually not fake either because you're acting how you legitimately feel. So if you can distance yourself, give yourself grace, have someone in your life who you can trust and talk to about these things. I have a lot of people in my life that I'm grateful to have that I can talk to and at the time could talk to. So yeah, I would just say give yourself grace, distance yourself as much as possible, and just listen to your body and listen to your mind and stay true to that.
So I do want to talk about the end of both of our volleyball journeys with COVID. And I feel like that impacted obviously impacted everybody in the world, right? But especially if you played sports, or let's say you were even a senior in high school or a senior in college, I feel like it took so much from so many people. For me, I was coaching the white team at MSU, so I wasn't playing. So that was maybe a little bit less of a loss for me, honestly. But I remember it being right before nationals and we were gearing up to get ready to go. Fundraising happened. Our transportation was booked. But I do remember when it was Ella, actually. I remember when she brought up, oh, we might not be going because this thing is starting. And in my head, I'm like, what? We're still going to go to nationals. It was coming up. It was pretty soon. And then obviously our school started shutting down. We weren't practicing and people went home for the semester. And it was like we just had to accept the loss at that time. So that was like my senior year of college. So I had no credits. It was going to be like the best semester ever coming off of a co op. I was excited to have all my friends back after internships and being able to coach, being a part of the club again, and also being able to leverage my social life a little bit more than I probably ever have because I wasn't playing as much. I just remember how disappointing it was to end my whole college career that way. But as a player playing a sport at that time, like, how did that feel for you as COVID ending things and knowing it was your last time actually playing the sport? How did that feel?
What sucks is we were so good that year. Like, we won both of our home tournaments.
Mhm.
We were so good. We were so solid. And our chemistry also as a team was really good. And so we were ready for nationals. We were
Mhm.
amped up and excited to see how that would turn out. So I didn't know that was going to be my last time playing. At that point, we had the practice. We didn't know it was going to be our last practice. But then all of a sudden, it was like quarantine. Everyone watching this went through COVID and knew how quickly it happens. And then we decided to still have e-board elections at the end of the year because we assumed this thing will be done by next year. And the next year would have been my senior year. So we had e-board elections. Like, my girl Kara was president. I was vice president. We were besties, ready to run the club. And then we never got to play. My senior year, everything was online. Like, I don't have to get into COVID because everyone experienced it. But yeah, that was my last time playing at that level.
And being able to run a whole club with your best friend, like, that is something that a lot of people can't relate to. If you haven't played a college club sport, I'm sure you could maybe be on an executive board for like another club or a group in general, but just knowing how much it takes to be elected as a president or vice president and the amount of respect you need to have in that club and earn, I feel that was your time to shine and end your volleyball career as running the whole club with your best friend and being the best team that you've pretty much ever played on in your life.
Yeah.
So I feel like it's such a devastating loss and situation, even now to 5 years later, think back on, and I feel life hasn't ever been fully normal since then because it just messed up so much for so long. But I do think it's crazy when I really think about it, it still definitely impacts me on an emotional level for sure.
Yeah, definitely resentment there. Senior year, just a positive note, is the nearest community center, I guess is what you would call it,
Mhm.
Lansing Gym, did open back up. You just had to be masked up when you played. And so some of the girls from the women's team and then some of the guys from the men's team, we would go and scrimmage. We actually had a rec team and played every week. We found a way to bring volleyball back into our college experience before it was over, which was really nice. And I'm really grateful for that, especially playing on a co-ed team. It is very intense. I broke my finger during one of the games because of a man's hit. Yeah, it sucks. It sucks knowing that
I know.
we didn't really get full closure there, but
I know.
we adjusted and it was the best we could do.
Rapid fire questions. All right. What was your gum flavor of choice during games since I know you were an avid chewer?
I literally could not play volleyball without having gum in my mouth, which some of my coaches hated and would make me spit out mid-game, but I would just pop another piece in. But no, my gum flavor of choice, always 5-gum spearmint. And to this day, it's the only gum I chew. I chew gum constantly. I love gum.
Spearmint's a vibe. A lot of people don't like it, but I like it.
It's a choice. It lasts longer than other flavors in my experience. That's why I like it.
I get that. How many coaches told you to spit it out?
Probably every coach at some point. Sometimes
Yeah, but if it makes you play better.
I don't even know if it made me play better, but it's just something that my body could do to get my mind off of just trying to be as mindless as possible. I don't know if it
Yeah.
worked. It was maybe a placebo, but
No, there's actually studies that if you are chewing, preparing for a test, and then you chew the same type of gum while taking the test, it rewires your brain to exactly what you were reading and studying for the test.
like I
Helped you.
have heard that. Okay,
Yeah.
period. I'll take it.
Scale of 1 to 10, how much did you love wearing a different colored jersey as a little bit?
10. I love attention and I love standing out. So I
Nice.
loved having another color jersey.
The courts at IM West at MSU that we practice on, were they too slippery or just right?
So freaking slippery and so dusty, bro.
So dusty.
I think that they're revamping it either right now or in a few years. The worst courts ever.
Horrible. But actually, I think they're closing IM West and they built a whole new huge recreation facility in South neighborhood. Just so you know, everything that happened while we were graduated.
I'm salty, honestly.
I know. Worst pass of your libero or DS career, and where the heck did it go?
I don't remember one specific pass, but we've all had horrible passes. Like, why did it do that? I think there were just sometimes where one arm would be slightly higher and it would just shoot off to the side. I've had plenty of those.
I remember you being so ready with your platform. You were so ready. You were low your platform was already out. Like, it looked like you were gonna have just an easy, perfect pass. And I just vividly remember it shooting off of you somehow. And I was like, she didn't even move her arms. Like, how did it just go across the gym? Like,
That's so funny. Plenty of ones where you're going to set and it just
hit
goes
you in
through
the.
your hands. Yeah. There's been
I've
plenty
seen.
of those.
Did you ever dive for a ball just to show that you could do it and look cool?
Okay, I would never dive for no reason, but something I would do for no reason is the follow through where you flip over. You know what I'm
Like
talking
roll.
about? But when you'd roll, I would roll when I didn't need to roll because yeah, I can do that.
Would you rather do a pancake or roll?
Okay, pancake is sick, especially when it's like a really good save. So I feel like that's more satisfying because a pancake is more rare than a roll pancake.
That's fair. I'd agree with that. What percentage of your wardrobe is still volleyball clothes, shirts, attire?
I mean, wait, like I can literally pause because I can bring out my stack of t-shirts I still have. They're all together.
Okay, let's see it. Marching back there. Nice. I love it.
A majority of my t-shirts, like everyone has like a t-shirt drawer, t-shirt pile. Like they're all Michigan State Women's Club Volleyball. And like sometimes people will be like, oh my God, I also still have that parka. And I'm like,
Yeah.
at what age are you too old to wear your college parka? Do you have an answer?
No, because I feel like I should.
I have to walk everywhere, like in the
Yeah,
city.
in
I don't have a
Philly.
car. So like,
Mhm.
yeah. Okay,
It's a nice
anyway.
parka. And I mean, honestly, like when we would wear it around school, I'm like, oh, people don't think I'm a D1 athlete, but like I look like one.
No, I felt so cool wearing that around. And like sometimes now I'm like, I'm washed up. But yeah, I was playing in college.
Okay, few closing questions. If younger Liz could see you right now and everything you've been through, what would surprise her the most?
She would be really surprised why I'm living on the East Coast because I never planned on that or really moving out of the Midwest in a big girl apartment, just doing the things I'm doing. I think she'd be proud of the volleyball journey too, because she probably didn't know how big of an impact or role it would have in her life. So it's weird talking about myself in third person, but yeah, I think that she would be pleasantly surprised at all that.
It's like crazy that we were given that second chance almost, it feels like in a way.
For
But
sure. Yeah.
what is one thing about your volleyball journey that you've never said out loud?
I've never told anyone this. I bought brand new volleyball shoes for tryouts before my first year of club because I think this will manifest me getting on the team. If I were to buy brand new shoes rather than just using the old ones I had from high school, this is bringing me good energy, good juju. Hey, it worked in my favor. I didn't have to return brand new shoes. I had to use them. So.
I feel like my advice to girls who are trying out for a sport, no matter the age, is do not wear new shoes to a tryout.
I know, and I'm insane. I don't recommend. Wasn't fun having those blisters, but maybe it brought me the juju I needed. Who knows?
It so did. All right, last question for you, Liz Bisco. What is your honest advice to girls who are where you were in life and riding the bench, maybe let's say, and questioning if they belong in the sport, on the court, on their team? What is your advice to them?
I was so close to giving up and stop playing after the year where I didn't really play that much. But I think you just have to look inward and really think if you love it and if it's your passion, is it worth pushing through? And I think the answer is always going to be yes, because you're playing for a reason. And there's going to be a lot of external factors, right? Like the coaches, the players on the team, maybe your family or your friends outside of volleyball. What are they up to? All of those are irrelevant to your decision. Just because you're riding the bench 1 year doesn't mean that you'll continue. Because again, just to reiterate, I rode the bench on one team and was a starter on another. Like it really just depends. So yeah, I would just say keep honing your craft, as they say. And if you love it, just keep at it.
It is funny because I feel like there's very minimal athletes that haven't had both extremes of riding a bench a whole season versus starting a whole season. And so I think it's something that most girls might feel like they're alone in, but really I think majority of athletes in general can relate to that. So it
Yeah.
was really good advice. Thank you so much, Liz, for coming on. She aced that today. I feel so blessed to have had you as a teammate and have you as a best friend for life. We've been through so much that has made us closer through the volleyball years. And if it wasn't for volleyball, I don't know if we would have ever crossed paths. And it just goes to show that all the sacrifices that we've made to get to the college level and playing together and sticking through that definitely was meant to be for us, especially to have each other. I hope that some of the listeners today get an insight on the reality of sports and volleyball. Most likely, what you have experienced, you're not alone in. And so, pushing along and striving for what you desire and the decisions you want to make for your life, and the rest will follow into place.
Neither of us thought we were going to be playing in college, and look where it got us. We met each
Yeah.
other and fell in love.
Sorry, Kyle.
Thanks so much for having me. It was a blast. I'll take any opportunity to catch up with you and chat all things volleyball.
Thank you, everybody, for tuning in, and we'll see you next Wednesday.
Bye.
Bye.